Well, thank you. And that was AM Business. We're glad you've stayed with us on the AM show. Well, coming up, last year, DOVSU set up a hotline through which victims could report cases of domestic violence. Now, the demand for support through the hotline has led to the creation of a functional center to serve as an avenue to provide support to victims. Join Mamavi Owusu-Abwaje as she explores the Orange Center with the United Nations Population Fund country representative. That's up next on the AM show.
Through the effort of the UNFPA, we have a support center. But what kind of support do you have, I guess, is what we want to explore with you. But first of all, why Orange?
Big question, which is a very good one. Thank you for having me. Orange happens to be the color all over the world, globally, for anything that has to do with gender-based violence. So it's a color that speaks to sexual and gender-based violence. That's why later at the end of the year, we usually have what we call the 16 days of activism against violence against women. So orange is the color. So that's why we named it Orange.
You know, I said women and girls have vulnerabilities. Is this center for women alone?
Well, it's for cases of sexual and gender-based violence. And therefore, and for the cases of sexual and gender-based violence that we have in the country, anywhere, usually anywhere all over the world, you are going to have about 95, 96, 97% women. They are the ones who face sexual and gender-based violence.
All right. So let's talk about the history. Why do we have a center? After all, we had a hotline that people could call from, last year. So why has it been necessary to set up a center?
Okay, last year, when COVID hit, what we had was we established that line in support of DOVSU for people to report cases of domestic and gender-based violence. That line was so that when people call in, we can pass it across to DOVSU so that DOVSU can go ahead to investigate and possibly prosecute those who are the offenders. So that is one part of the response to gender-based violence. There is another part, which is most important for me as a matter of fact. Apart from apprehending the offenders, we also need to look after the victims. Like you see, we say providing support to survivors of gender-based violence. We want to move victims to become survivors so that they will be able to survive gender-based violence. So we need to provide support, and the kinds of support that we need to provide for them. Sometimes it is psychological, psychosocial support, medical support. They need legal assistance or support or what have you. We provide that. So that's why this particular one focuses on the victims. The other line focuses on the criminals who perpetrate sexual and gender-based violence. Yeah.
If somebody called 0800 111 222, practically, what kind of reception would they receive?
Okay, and I'm going to ask the whole world to just try it. Call the number 0800 111 222. As you can hear from the background, they are receiving calls. Somebody calls in, somebody picks up the call, and then finds out what the issue is. Usually you have sometimes a woman crying, saying, this is what I'm facing, this is what I've just experienced. Maybe rape, it might be rape, sometimes it's just physical violence, somebody being beat up, or what have you, different things. So the listener, that's the first person that picks the call. They are trained individuals who are going to know what that person needs immediately. It's a split-second thing. Quickly, they do a bit of assessment to understand what the issues are. They ask the right questions. Once you have the questions, they transfer the individual who has called in to somebody who will be able to provide the kinds of support that has been diagnosed, so to say. So sometimes you call in when you say, this is what has happened. I know that, this person immediately needs to talk to a psychosocial counselor. So they transfer it. So the psychosocial counselor provides the support to that individual. And then we look at it. If there are other things that are required, we take it on from there. If it's also, if we feel that the person needs, in addition, maybe legal support or legal advice, we provide that. If we realize maybe if there are injuries involved and there is need for treatment, we also take it forward in that manner.
How long has the center been in existence?
We just started just about 2-3 months ago. It's just starting. Let's just say it's just starting. We are foundational right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what have you noticed? I mean, I know that it's pretty still short, fresh.
Yeah.
But are you reading a certain trend, or what are you recording right now?
Yes. What we see right now is that there are so many cases of people who are abused in different directions, beyond our own imagination. You can see that before we came into this business, we were planning to hear all sorts of stories. But I can tell you that the stories that we're hearing these days is actually more robust, so to say, than what we expected. You see different cases. For example, I just had a case this afternoon. Everything was going on fine. Then when the COVID pandemic hit, the guy got thrown out of a job. And then the next thing is that he found somebody else to go out with whose parents are rich. So he elopes with the new lady, and then everything is fine for him, and he abandons his entire family. That is gender-based violence. That is domestic violence in itself. So it's in different contexts. It's actually mind-blowing, the kinds of stories that we have. And we are going to have an opportunity to speak with them, those who are in charge, who will be able to tell you the kinds of things that they've had.
I know that this center is in Accra,
Yeah.
but are you providing service to only those within Accra?
The center, that's why I really not want to call it a physical center. That's why you will not see a signboard outside. We don't announce it because this is just supposed to be a back-end platform to make things happen. The services that we provide are actually primarily virtual. It's virtual based. So the call comes in. What we have here is the latest call center facility with which calls can be received. But not just the calls, there is also a linkage. We are using technology, we're leveraging on technology to link up with counselors, with professionals that are behind the scene who will be able to provide support to all of those who call. So it's not just an Accra thing. Somebody calls in from Tamale, says this is what has happened, and you'll be surprised we actually have professionals all over the country who are volunteers. We have a lot of volunteers. We have about 200 volunteers on paper, and we're still going to get some more. So they are everywhere all over the country. So if a case comes in and somebody needs help and support in Tamale, that is beyond what we provide virtually. If they need to see somebody physically, we can actually parachute somebody there who is close to where that person is to provide the kind of support that we want. And we believe that in the course of time, we'll make this more robust, and so that you can actually have support within 5 minutes walking distance of wherever you are.
Nice. Is this a 24-hour service center?
Yeah, it is a 24-hour service that we provide, even though this place is not open all the time 24 hours. It's only in police stations and the hospitals that are 24 hours. But then actually, the service we provide is 24 hours. Call in anytime, you will get support.
Okay, so this center is different from you going to a police station to report, correct?
Yes. The going to police station to report is also linked in some way. When a victim goes to the police station to report, the victim wants the police to investigate and probably deal with the offender. But at the same time, that victim has suffered some injury in some way, either physical or mental, that suffered some injury. That the kind of support that will comfort that particular individual who have suffered some injury is what we provide. We just want to make sure that that person who has suffered has come back to normal, and then our job is done. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that the offender should go free. So that's what we do.
Okay, is this a permanent center?
For all intents and purposes, because this place actually belongs to government. So it's a government place, so it's we can say it's permanent, but really I still see, I envision a situation whereby we have to move to a bigger place that will be able to take care of all of the cases that we have in the country. Because right now, answering one of the questions you've asked before, we have seen cases going up now. So, and with adequate publicity, which we are embarking on in the course of time, we expect that we have many cases being reported. And when people see that there is something is going to happen, when people see that they are going to get support, they are going to be reporting. And permit me indulge me to just make one thing clear. The cases of gender-based violence that we have in the country are huge, much more huge than we can imagine. And I'll give you an example from Ghana Health Service. The statistics that we have from Ghana Health Service shows that in last year, 2020, during COVID, we had cases 109,888 cases of teenage pregnancy in Ghana. 109,888, that's more than 100,000. And meanwhile, the cases of COVID-19 that we have in the country is not even up to 100,000. It's very close to 100. So, and most of those cases, you can iterate that they took place as a result of gender-based violence. Why? Any child that is below 16 has not yet attained the age of consent. So anybody that is 16 or below who gets pregnant was actually raped. So if that person was raped, nobody has reported. The parents have not reported. The child that was raped has not reported. Even neighbors around have not reported. So there are so many unreported cases of gender-based violence that is going on, and that's what we want to get people to report as a way of stopping, or eliminating gender-based. We want to bring it to zero. So when people see that they get support, they will report more. When they report, it also helps government to formulate policies and put things in place to ensure that we eradicate this malaise in our society.
Just before I get talking to the team members, so if an incident happens, do I call you first, 0800 111 1222, or I call the police, or I walk to a police station?
I would suggest that you should call 0800 111 1222, because once it happens, first you get double barrel. So to say, you get support, and at the end, and at the same time, we also make sure that the police are called so that they can go after the offender.
So now I can talk to some of the team members. Are you on a call?
God, you're too quiet.
Okay. What's your name?
How are you?
I'm Dorcas.
So Dorcas, how many calls typically would you receive in a day?
Typically, we receive over 100 calls. And segregating this, we can say both incoming and outgoing calls. Because in the day, we do a lot of follow-ups, we do a lot of referral, we do a lot of follow-up with clients, as well as psychosocial support and legal support. So in the day, comparing all of this, we can say over 100 calls. But then again, some of the calls that comes in, as some are requesting for support, others are making inquiry. They want to find out what is happening at the center. At what time can I call? Others are also making follow-ups regarding their cases. Meanwhile, others too are reporting sensitive cases in terms of abuse, assault, child neglect, divorce issues. All of these cases come through to the Awareness Support Center. So in the day, we get over 100 calls that I can say. Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of support would you typically give them? So if somebody calls, what are you asking them, for instance?
So usually when your call comes in, I respond, hello, thank you for calling the Orange Support Center. So when the client reports his or her case, then the immediate support we have available or includes psychosocial supports, which include therapy from a clinical psychologist. Then if the case is legal, we then refer to the legal person to provide legal assistance. Some of the cases have to go further to court. So when the legal person takes up this case, he or she is able to identify when or what kind of support to provide to the client, center for logistical supports, how to file a case, how to follow up, all these technical terms that comes with it. Then in terms if a case also needs medical attention, we work with Ghana Health Service, and so we have health facilities that some of these cases goes to for medical attention. in terms of screening, in terms of reports, to help take it to the police station and other stuff.
Great. Let me talk to the other team members. I see somebody's eyeing me, so I'm not going to come to you. Hello, what's your name?
Hello, my name is Bomke.
Okay. So how many calls have you received today?
Oh, I received about 6 calls today.
Okay. What are they? What kind of support are they asking for? What kind of issues are they bringing to you?
We have one, a child support neglect. I have a suicide case. I have a lady that needs divorce and settlement. I have a domestic violence case and also a suicide case. So we have 2 suicide cases.
Wow. Have you had people calling you when the issues are happening to them right there?
Okay, so last week, not myself, but my colleague received a call of the lady that was presently, she was down and it was happening to her right there. Yeah, she needed psychological support immediately, which we rendered to her.
So when you say suicide, what are they telling you? I mean, is somebody saying that this is how I feel or this is what I want to do to myself? What exactly are they saying?
Okay, so some of them are having post-trauma effects, some childhood abuse, some are situations they are in, and they just call to say, I want to die. Someone will say, I'm just calling to let you know I'm fed up, I want to die. And I will ask, okay, what's wrong? Can we help you? And they will narrate some of our childhood sexual abuse they are going through, and when they think about it or see the person's involved, they just want to commit suicide or actually murder to the person. So at first we have to get them a psychological person to calm them down first, and we'll move it forward from there.
Okay, let me talk to the only gentleman that I see. He's not on call right now. Are you on call? Okay, so I can have a good conversation with you. How many calls have you also received today?
If I check the call log, about 21.
Oh, wow. And the day hasn't ended?
Yes, and there are more stuff to follow up on.
Okay. So what are these persons telling you today, those who have called?
So we received about 10 calls making follow-up on previous cases. For instance, I just got to the lawyer assigned to one of our clients who called in some other part of the region, and apparently we could not reach her, and so the client's case has delayed a bit. We have gotten to the point where she's filing the case in court for divorce and also child maintenance, and when she called to follow up, she just needs her peace of mind and also the peace to take care of her children, and the fact that the state should come in and legally mandate the husband to do his duties. She's not preventing the children from seeing their dad. All she wants is out of the marriage because she's not living in a peaceful marriage, and it's like she's living alone. So she just wants everything to be formally documented, like legally, that yes, she's divorced, she can take care of her children and her business, so the man can let her be.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is there any reason she's coming forward to you instead of following up through this by herself?
So she's been going through a lot of things. So she's reached out to the family, the husband's family, and nobody is responding. And she said, according to her dad has given her the go-ahead because they've tried to speak to the husband. The husband's family have come in, and the husband is not listening to anybody. In return, the man is rather frustrating the woman's life, and for her, she just wants that peace of mind for her children, to take care of her children. So initially, she was waiting for the husband to, bring in some money to take the children to school because of COVID and all of that. The husband was not doing that, so she, doing petty business, has taken the children to school, sewn uniforms and all of that, and she's just frustrated. So when she called earlier, we assigned clinical psychologists to her, and then she went through a series of psychotherapy, and through that, then the legal officers also took over. Social welfare was very helpful in this case, meeting her at in her place where she was, making some assessments, and even filing the case in court. So that's the progress that we've made with our clients, and she's happy that from the time she called and now we've been able to make this progress. And now that we have reached the lawyer who has been assigned to legal aid to support her case, she knows that the case will see the light of day and she will be happy.
Great. Are you married?
No.
Okay. I know that not all of you here are married, but you're receiving some huge cases with marital issues and all. This can have a way of having a toll on you guys. So do you get personally connected to the stories you hear?
We do. We do. And as you can see, I'm the only gentleman here. And sometimes when women call and their children, and sometimes you hear men shouting at the background, you understand, and they tell you the woman, like the husband is treating the child badly, they've thrown them out of the room and all of these things. As much as we are professionals and we've learned to distance ourselves from these things, we are human too, you understand, and that is why we are here. But sometimes being a man, trying to help and support these things, when you see some of the things that women go through that are instigated or caused by men, you try to rethink how to also make other people feel better through the work that you do, or even personally, wherever you find yourself. So yes, we try to distance ourselves, but some of them, because there are children involved, and the women have, some of them are in school, some of them are, even though they are married and all, because of the abuse that the partner may have caused this woman, she felt just like a little girl with no hope. And when they call, and the way we speak to them, and the clinical psychologists and the lawyers speak to them, they tell us, we know we are going through a lot, but the way you speak to us alone, and in that process, we still find solace to, encourage them and walk with them through the journey. So yeah, we sometimes get attached to the issues and stories.
Okay, you don't have to apologize for that. Let me ask, do the stories get to you?
Yes, personally they do. I side what my colleague Oko said. Some of the stories, you just sit back and ask myself, if I'm in this person's position, what am I going to do? And at the moment, you get to understand why the person is crying, why the person says that, okay, because of my children, I want to stay. And then why the person now wants to make a decision, and no, I'm fed up, I want to seek help. So some of these stories get to you personally. You just want to say, okay, how do I build myself up professionally so that I don't get mixed up with my emotions with some of these cases that comes in. So sometimes amongst ourselves we try to provide support for each other, listen, speak it out, seek support. If you think the case is beyond, you just refer to my other colleagues to just handle it and see how best you can also breathe and come back to take over the case that comes in here.
Have you broken down before?
Yes, I have.
When you said sometimes you give it to a colleague and then yeah, okay, I can understand. It's a tough job, really. I'm coming to you in terms of how this personally also affects you.
Oh yeah, it does a lot.
And how do you handle it?
Okay, just like my colleague said, we talk amongst ourselves, we cool each other down, we wash off the tears, then we come back to handle the cases.
Well, we thank you for what you do here, really. And I'm just talking to team members here at the Orange Support Center. They've been sharing the experiences with the phone calls that they receive, the kind of issues that are brought forward to them. You heard the many experiences. Let me just excuse myself because she's just picking a call. What keeps you on the job? This can be, like as they shared, and I'm sure it's the same with you, it can be emotionally draining. What keeps you going?
I think most of us here know that we are not just working. I don't want to go religious, but also fulfilling purpose. And we know that we are helping somebody out there. Even if we break down, we've also been taken through some trainings. In our job, we also show empathy. And it's in that empathy we try to help people. And when we know that when they come back, we hear a success story, we hear, I'm fine now, have been checked into the domestic, into a shelter, those success stories actually gives us the pump to go the next day.
So maybe I can just ask you guys as well, what keeps you going? Maybe Oko.
So I grew up in a community where issues of SGBV, they are very rampant, and so curious enough, I started asking questions. Why is this way? Why is it that way? And my grandmom and my mom and those around me, my dad as well, explained some of these things to me. So right from childhood, and the questions and the curiosity we generated, wanted to know how you can contribute to it. And so that is what ushered me into this line of work and all of that. So despite the challenges, you know that you are touching people's lives, and the feedback we get from them, like Abulaji said, just by the client knowing that she won't commit suicide anymore and she's smiling, that's alone, we'll all be happy here and smiling because we know that we have touched somebody. So that's one of the greatest motivation that keeps all of us going over here.
Nice. If I call the number 0800 111 222 and I spoke to Oko and I called again and I said I wanted to speak to Oko, is that allowed? Oh, okay. Yeah. But, you know, don't people get personal with you?
Good question. They do. They do. Sometimes, you know, we are all like, not all of us are here because there are also other related work that we are doing. So sometimes, it was around last week when I was not around in the moment for a meeting, and someone called, said they want to speak to me, and then I was not around. So this morning when she called, oh, I want to speak to you, we were not around, and you know you are the one that I've been speaking to, and all of that. And yes, they do, but it also tells you the impact you're having on them, and based on the support you are providing to them and all. So, but even if I'm not here, the systems are still working, and if I have an appointment with a client, any of my colleagues can just, you know, schedule it and then let it happen. So we are covered.
Great. Last question. Do men also call for help?
They do. They do. And it's even surprising that most of the cases that come are either abuse or also divorce. Yes, and it's quite exciting because you know that the myth surrounding that, the fact that it's only women who are easily abused or women who easily opens up to talk about these things is being break because of this support center, because I can see your face, you don't see me, but we are able to find solution to your problem, and that is the essence of all this that we are doing. So men do call, and when they call, they stay through. They are usually consistent from stage one. If it's psychosocial support, they listen, they go through the process. If it's legal support, they go through the process, and they go through to the end, and they come back with feedback saying thank you, or I really appreciate your time, you have helped me. And if there's a need for further referral follow-ups, they do get back to us, and then they receive support. So men do call.
You can call if you notice it anywhere.
Okay.
Yes.
So it may not be happening to me, but it could be happening to somebody else.
Yes.
And I still can call your hotline.
Please, yes. We actually encourage even what we call whistleblowers. If you see something, please say something, because by that you might be saving a life. A couple of weeks ago, and I mean a couple of weeks ago, just last month, I saw something in the newspaper which said that there was a man that was beating the wife in the night. And neighbors came in to they wanted to come in to save the woman from the man. And the man threatened to kill anybody that comes near. So eventually the neighbors left. By the next morning, the woman was dead. The man had killed the woman. So if you let us know when you see something, the person does not have to be your sister, it doesn't have to be your friend or anybody at all. If you notice gender-based violence anywhere, please let us know so that we can intervene. If we get to know of anybody that is in danger, in any form of danger, we can let the police know so that the police can save a life. At the same time, if we know, we can provide support in different ways. So please, it's not just an issue of if you need it. If you see somebody that needs support, please call the line. It's toll-free. So it doesn't cost anybody. The one that we had last year, based on which you can call the police, is such that you will still have to pay when you are making that call. So this one is toll-free.
You know, your story reminds me, there was an incident in Takrady. A man had killed his girlfriend. There was another incident in Ho. Coincidentally, it was also the same. And neighbors, there's a co-tenant, had said they heard noises overnight, but they didn't reach out, only to discover the following morning that the ladies had died.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you see something, say something.
Yes, and you see, these are cases in which people kill people physically. There is another case, there is another set of murder cases that we are not even looking at this point in time, and that is those who are impregnating teenagers. That in itself is gender-based violence, because it's only a child that is 16 and above who can give consent. So in a situation whereby you don't, the girl does not have a consent, and then she becomes pregnant. The reason why I'll call it murder is this. There's a certain percentage of mothers, of pregnant people, who will die as a result of complications of pregnancy. And it becomes worse when they are children, when they are teenagers, because as at that time, most of those teenagers, because we even have children as young as 10, age 10 who are getting pregnant in this country at this point in time. And so their bodies are not yet ready to undergo the rigors of pregnancy. And when that happens, it might lead to death, or it might lead to some permanent form of injury that they will have to live with for the rest of their lives. And some of them also are such that psychologically, they might not be able to cope with the rigors of pregnancy or parenting. So we'll be saving a life by reporting something that we see. The problem that I see right now, which is what I think is major, is that nobody's asking questions from those people who are impregnating teenagers. We should be asking questions because those guys are murderers. And because when they kill, it affects the society, it affects the conscience of the society at the end of the day. And people who see these things happening, we continue to perpetuate this because they feel it is right. So we need to spread the word out there. If you see something, anything related to gender-based violence, let us know. And many of those teenage pregnancies are actually happening in the household. So it is actually, many of you see, incest happening. So these are things that we need to look at. Religious leaders and every leader that we have, there is the essence of having reproductive health education so that our children themselves can also know. So that as they grow up, if anybody comes near to touch them, either COVID-19 or not, if anybody comes to touch them, they know that this is where this person is leading to, they stop it.
Well, Nii, thank you very much for this tour.
Thank you very much.
For allowing us into this virtual service center.
Thank you.
Okay, and providing the service,
Yes.
really. Thanks a lot.